So for this video, I'm going to guide you through the essentials for retopoing your high definition or high polygon tree. This is a sculpt I created in Blender. It's, you can see, pretty high poly. It needs not only fewer polygons, but also better topology for ostensibly game work. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and move this up. You can see right now it's sitting partway in the ground. So I'm going to treat the ground plane like the ground. So I'll just go ahead and G and then hit Z. And I'm just going to eyeball this and I'm going to move it up so it sits on the ground like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Control A and apply all transforms. All right. So now that I've got that, you can see I've got over here in my collection the tree high. And I've already got my Retopo Flow installed, but just a reminder, if you go to Edit, Preferences, click on Add-ons, then you can click on Install right here to install the Retopo Flow zip from where I guided you in class. And then it should be, I'll just type it in so you can see that I already have it enabled or checked off right here. And once that's enabled, you should be able to see this little drop down way up at the top of the viewport. You can see Retopo Flow. All right, so with the object selected, this is probably a good time to do a save. I'm gonna go ahead and just call this tree, Retopo. There we go. Now I'm ready to start retopoing. So to do this, I need to enter into Retopo Flow. I'm gonna click on that little drop down. And you have these two options to create a new target. I always do at active. Now what's happening is that the Retopo Flow interface is being launched, basically replacing or graying out all the rest of Blender. And so you just have this dedicated little interface with the tools specific to Retopo Flow. There are some settings over on the right here. In some cases, you're going to want to retopo using symmetry. In this case, you would switch it on here, but sorry, in this case with the tree, this is not a symmetrical object, so we don't need to bother with that. So I'm actually not going to touch any of the options. I'm just going to dive right in and start creating some tools, some retopology, some new geometry. So you can see there's different ways you can create the geometry. One thing to be aware of is you can just select these different tools over on the left here. You can also press and hold down your tilde key. That's the squiggly on the top left of your keyboard. That brings up a little pie menu that's just the exact same options or tools as what you see on the left here. So it's just your preference. I may go back and forth. I use more or less most of these. There are a couple I rarely use, if ever, of these tools. Some are more useful than others. So let's actually just start with the most fundamental one, in my opinion, which is just this polypen tool. Now, the way this works is, and all these tools are pretty much the same in that you need to hold down the control key once you've had once you've selected the tool to actually enable you to use the tool. So if I hold down control, you'll notice I get this little point or pointer position that's always staying fixed to the surface of the tree. You'll notice no matter where I drag this, it's staying sort of snapped to the surface. And if I just control and then left click, I've got a new point right there. You can see when I turn the view, it's just sticking there. If I do it again, control left click, now what I've done is I've created 2 points or 2 vertices and an edge. If I go up now I've got a triangle, and a 4th time, and I now have a quad. Okay? So that's the basics of creating a face. You can notice this is, I'm already retopologizing and creating new topology that sticks to the surface of another mesh, in this case, a high resolution mesh. Now, I can just say click off of that to deselect, and if I want, I can just go ahead and just do the same thing somewhere else. Now, this is not going to be a very efficient way to retopologize. It's just by creating a bunch of separate faces. By the way, again, I'm just clicking off each time to deselect. You can also hit A or Alt-A to go from between select actually even just A alone will basically go back and forth between selecting everything and deselecting everything. Now, in addition, you can click in this mode, polypen mode, on edges, verts, or whole faces. And once you've got that selected, then I can just left click and I can tweak these things. I can move individual verts around. I can move edges around. I can even move the whole face around. And in every case, you'll notice it's sticking to the surface. Now I can also say have one edge of an existing face already active or selected. Now when I still with the same tool, polypen, hold down Control and left click once and twice, you're seeing I don't have to create 4 individual points. It's anchoring off of the existing 2 points or existing edge, creating a second face, second quad, and they're now connected. And I can keep on doing that. So now you see I'm kind of moving my way over towards this face over there. I can even select this edge, hold down my Control key, and you'll notice it's actually smart enough to know to do like a little bridge right between them without clicking twice. I can even do it again here. If I select this edge, hold down Control, now I could left click, or if I get close to the middle of the edge right there and just a single left click, and now you can see it just created that. And then if I want, I can go ahead and tweak things around, reposition stuff, and so on. So that's the kind of the basics of that polypen tool. I find it to be my sort of bread and butter. It's great for tweaking. It's great for refined work. It's not great for doing a lot of work at once. And that's where we're going to start using some of these other tools to see how they can work. Now, contours, that's going to be great for this particular assignment. You're going to use that almost more than any other tool. And you'll see why, because it's very fast. So what this tool is for creating full face loops, okay? And the way it works, again, with it active, is you hold down the Control key, and if I just left-click and drag, you can see across the model. So I'm not drawing on the model, I'm drawing from one side to the other side. It doesn't make a difference which. You'll notice it creates this, basically, edge loop with no faces. It'll even tell you how many points or edges it's got, 16. Now I can undo that. Now I can go in either direction, this way or that way. You can see it doesn't make a difference. You'll notice that when I position that, it's at a slight angle in some cases. I can actually, this is a wonderful part to this tool, rotate this in 2 different ways. If I just hit R and let go, see how it actually is sort of twisting that around? If I hit Shift on it, now it's actually rotating it in the view, relative to the view. Very good for tweaking it exactly the way you want it, so you can sort of get this level. So I'm doing Shift R again from a different angle, and you can see really nice. So what can I do with this? Well, I can also, by the way, say, you know what, I don't want to have 16. I want to have a different number. If I start hitting the minus or the plus signs on the keyboard, you can increase or decrease that number. So maybe I'll go up to 18. Why not? Once I've established that number, again, if I hold down Control, left click and drag across, you can see in this case going above the original edge loop. It creates a new edge loop. It knows to do the same number as what I had active before, 18. And you can see it's automatically bridging everything. Terrific. So I can actually really quickly populate my tree. And you'll notice it's starting to do that thing where it's kind of getting things at funny angles. And if that happens, you can use, again, Shift R and start to straighten it out. I can double click here to go down to another edge loop and do the same thing, Shift R. And so this is, again, a way to get everything sort of tidy. And then I can hit A to deselect everything. Actually, I want to go over here and go to the polypen. And I can actually hold down the Shift key to select all these things. And I'm going to hit X and just delete those faces, just so I can have a less clutter and you can sort of see more from the early stage how I would progress. So this is the fast and probably best way to build out not just your trunk, but actually all your branches too. So I'm going to, maybe I'll double click again. Oops, go back to the contours tool, double click. That allows me to select this. And then again, I can move my way down. You can see to the base of the trunk. You get the idea. Now, I'm going to hit A to deselect everything. Now, what you want to do here is, before starting to think about connecting the trunk to the branches, I want you to work with this particular method, this technique that will establish really good flow, good topology on your tree, which is to create, kind of like we created a full face loop on the trunk, we're going to do the same thing for every branch and every sub-branch. And we're going to start at the base of each one. So again, with the contours tool, I'm going to get somewhere over here, you can see, close to where this branch attaches to the trunk. And I'm again going to control and drag. Now you can see I've got 16, again, points around there. And I might decide, you know what, that's not, I don't need that many for a branch. So maybe I'm going to go down to 12. Why not? So now I've got 12. Then I'm going to go ahead and, again, control drag. And you can see I can start to establish my first face loop. And I can start to move my way up and along that branch. You're going to do the same thing for every one. So I'm going to hit A to deselect. I'm going to go over here to this side. Again, control drag, something close to. It's not exactly touching the trunk, but it's pretty close. And again, I may decide 16 is a little too many, so I can hit minus a few times. I'll go down to 12 again. Why not? Again, I'll control left click drag to start to create my additional edge loops, or sorry, face loops. And you can see it's just doing this wonderful and quick job of starting to populate or retopologize this entire trunk. Now you can see, again, I'm starting to get some of that tweaked or rotated edge loops. So I can say go back over here, Shift R, and you can see what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to reposition, reorient these edge loops so that they are kind of like perpendicular to the direction of the branch. So do the same thing here, start to tweak that. You can go from in all different angles. Oops, that's not good. Let's try it right here. That should work. Here we go. Again, I'm going to go over here. I think you can start to see how I think about this stuff. And you can see if you start to get a little twist, I can just hit R, not Shift R. You can see that can allow you to twist or untwist the flow. So you can see I'm trying to keep a consistent, these lengthwise loops. I want to sort of not have, you can see twisting way around like this. You can see they're sort of corkscrewing. So I'm going to undo that. There we go. So I'm going to keep on going. A to deselect. Go to my next branch here. Again, I'm still in contours. Control, left click, drag. Again, I don't think I need so many, so I'm going to hit the minus key to go down to 12. You can see I can start to create my face loops. There we go. Great. Again, I might want to look at the different angles to make sure that the rotation looks fine. That looks good. I'm going to go to this branch, same thing. Shift R maybe to straighten that out a little bit from that angle. Minus key to go down to, in my case, I'm doing 12. You may decide on something different. There we go. I'm not going to continue to the tips of the branches right now. I just want you to I wanted to give you an idea of how to think about establishing the topology for all this. Now, over here, you may notice I have one sub-branch. You can see this branch coming off of this branch. I want to do the same thing for every branch and sub-branch, meaning I'm going to go over here, put a little thing there. Now, this is such a small and thin branch. Not only do I not need 16, I probably don't even need 12. I'm going to go down to 8, I think, for that. Number of loops, vertices. And so now you can see I can just sort of pretty quickly and easily go right to the tip. Okay. Now in this case here, I have the branch sort of moving its way up towards the sub branch. Just make that a bit longer. And what I'm going to do is you can see get close, but not quite all the way to where the sub branch pokes out. And then I'm just going to kind of ignore that for now and just go right up to the area at the end of this branch that's beyond the sub branch. And I'm going to keep going. Now, I just want to remind you, I've got 12 edges or verts there. I'm going to, I think, just stick with the same number for now. So I'm going to go right over here. You can see, again, decrease that to 12. And then the idea is I can sort of continue right up to the very tip. All right. So this is your first main stage in getting all of your topology set, which is establishing full concentric face loops that go all the way around your branches, the base of each branch, the trunk. But you don't have to worry at this stage of about actually connecting them. That'll be the next video.